Brain Food, the Dillard University President's Lecture Series. Dillard has a long history of being the cultural and intellectual club of the Gentilly community, and we are striving to be the place where all of New Orleans comes for discussion of critical issues. Thank you for being here with us tonight. At this time, please take a moment to ensure that any electronic devices, including cell phones, are either silenced or off. After the conversation between Lena Waithe and Dr. Kimbrough, you will have an opportunity to engage with our guests during the question and answer period. We know there will be excitement and many people will want to participate, but we have a simple request. Ask a question. No speeches, no commentaries, no short stories. Questions can be asked in 30 seconds. If you cannot fit your question in the 280 characters of a tweet, you know it is too long. Please cooperate or we will have to pull the mic and kindly escort you to your seats. Our series sponsors are the Hyatt Regency New Orleans, Follett College Bookstores, and Sodexo. Our lecture supporter is the Dillard University National Pan-Hellenic Council. We'd like to thank them for supporting this event. The program will proceed as printed. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Delaney Kelly. I'm a first-year student majoring in accounting from Houston, Texas. Dillard University was founded in 1930 through the merger of two schools, both founded in 1869. Straight College, founded by the American Missionary Association, which is now the United Church of Christ, and New Orleans University, founded by the Methodist Episcopal Church, which is now the United Methodist Church. And a cross-cultural collaboration, these different denominations, along with the citizens of the city, pooled resources for this new university, which opened its doors in September of 1935. As the university developed, it made history along the way. Dillard University is home to the oldest speech and theater department for any historically black college or university, and continues to produce the professional quality productions annually. Dillard boasts two signature academic programs. The first is physics. We are the nation's second leading producer of African Americans with undergraduate degrees in physics, not just for HBCUs, but all schools. The second is film. Dillard has one of a few HBCU film programs with students not only working on a number of independent movies, but television shows like NCIS New Orleans. Dillard is also a leader in creating an inclusive campus for all students. We are one of a handful of HBCUs that have partnered with the Human Rights Campaign to address the needs of LGBTQ students, and we are now doing safe space training, and have hosted events with the likes of Big Frida and Fly Young Red. Dillard will celebrate 150 years of excellence in 2019. Over the next 18 months, we invite you to learn about the Jewel of Gentilly, Dillard University, as we celebrate 150 years of education, advocacy, and service. Please welcome the 7th president of Dillard University, America's socially conscious hip-hop president, who, like our guest tonight, was born in the Chi, Dr. Walter M. Kimbrough.
Good evening. Oh man, y'all gotta do better than that. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. This spring, Lena Waithe was honored at the Essence Black Women in Hollywood Gala. She spoke about her faith, about being influenced by Love Jones, Do the Right Thing, and A Different World. And that A Different World helped her realize that she was, as she was quoted as saying, a little lesbian in training. And as she thanked the love of her life, she asked who knew that in 2018 that it would be a revolutionary act acknowledging a same-gender love, and how our ancestors would not look at each other too long in the cotton fields or hide at the March on Washington, even though they helped plan a nod to the likes of Bayard Rustin. She said that LGBTQ brothers and sisters are still hiding for fear of losing endorsement deals, wanting to be normal, not wanting to make white folks feel uneasy, and most of all, not wanting to make our own people feel uncomfortable. She then said the very quotable, being born gay, black, and female is not a revolutionary act. Being proud to be a gay, black female is. This speech hits the Essence website around March the 2nd. Within a week, I am trying to figure out, how do I get Lena Waithe here? I'm a United Methodist preacher's kid, and Dillard is a Methodist school. As you heard, I was born in the Chi and lived there for the first 5 years of my life. When we moved to Atlanta as a kid, I can remember the times my dad went back to Chicago to preach, and we were excited anytime he came home with some Limbs barbecue. And if you're not from Chicago, you don't know about Limbs. Yep, that greasy brown paper bag is what he carried on the plane with no shame. Students have sometimes teased me because I have had a number of Chicagoans come speak at Dillard. Reverend Otis Moss III, Michelle Obama, Father Michael Flager, and Chance the Rapper, to name a few. I still have a great affinity for the city. My godmother still lives on South Paxton. But beyond the Chicago connection, Lena's challenge at the end of that speech to come out like Linda told the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz resonated with me. While we like to think of ourselves as liberal politically, as African Americans, we're very much a conservative people, and we wrestle with faith and sexual identity. So it has been a revolutionary act for me as a president of a historically Black institution that is a part of a denomination that might potentially split due to various ideologies about the place of LGBTQ members, to ensure that we would not simply have special events or programs, but to incorporate those experiences and stories as a part of what we normally do. And our guest tonight has been a great role model to weave these stories into the broader human experience. Lena Waithe is one of Hollywood's most promising up-and-coming talents, who continues to grow her body of work with diversity, charisma, and comedy. One of Hollywood Reporter's TV breakouts, Waithe expertly taps into emerging cultural sensibilities with a sharp wit, speaking to a myriad of experiences from her unique perspective and challenging audiences to think outside of conventional norms. Waithe first made headlines in front of the camera as Denise, friend to Deb, in the critically acclaimed Netflix series, Master of None. In a role that was originally intended for a straight Caucasian female, Waithe has made Denise's experience as a queer Black woman uniquely her own. She co-wrote the Thanksgiving episode, which chronicles Denise's coming out to herself and her family through the lens of the Thanksgiving holiday over 3 decades. The episode is largely based on Waithe's personal experience. Lena's writing in Thanksgiving led her to making history as the first African-American woman to win an Emmy for Best Writing in a Comedy Series. She was next seen on the big screen in Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One, based on Ernest Cline's 2011 science fiction and dystopian novel. Waithe's additional acting credits include Amazon's Transparent and HBO's The Comeback. As a writer, Waithe is serving as creator and executive producer of The Shot, a relevant, timely, and distinctive coming-of-age story that follows 6 interrelated characters on Chicago's South Side. Produced by Common, The Shot stars Jason Mitchell, who's also been on the Sonia Song, and Jacob Lattimore. As a producer, Waithe's credits include the film Stepsisters, a comedic dance film that follows a Black sorority girl who agrees to teach the art of Greek stepping to a house of white, party-obsessed sorority girls. She was also the producer of the Sundance darling, Dear White People. Currently in development is the television series 20s, for which Waithe serves as writer and producer, based on her turbulent 20s and how she navigated her first 10 years of Los Angeles living. Waithe was born and raised in Chicago and currently resides in Los Angeles. So please help me welcome to the stage our brain food guest chef, Lena Waithe.
Hello, there we go. Hey, everybody. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Well, thank you. We're glad to have you here, and I'm just excited to be here and have you here. And she made a big sacrifice. She wasn't feeling great today, but they said she got on the plane, she's coming, and she got a early flight.
Good, man.
So
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
it.
So y'all give us some extra love. I want her to feel like,
We got it. She's doing too much. That's the thing.
There was a recent Variety magazine Power of Women luncheon, and you've given just some profound speeches at a number of those events. I quoted the Essence luncheon as well. But you spoke about this time that we're in now and how you see women coming together. So talk a little bit more about that and what you see happening in the near future.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, you know, not just women, but also people of color, and there's a shift happening, I believe, in the industry that feels more permanent. That's not just a fad, but I think something that we can't go back from. I don't really see the pendulums swinging back anytime soon. I think that it's just a very unique time. It definitely does feel very much like a renaissance, and I feel honored to be a part of that and this group of people that are doing really interesting work. Like, you know, like obviously Donald Glover is doing some really interesting things. Terrence Nance, who's doing Random Acts of Blindness over at HBO, you know, and Justin Simeon, you know, who's doing the Dear White People TV show now. And he's got his newest film that I appear in called Bad Hair. So, which is really cool. It's about this like woman who decides to conform, this black woman who has natural hair, and she decides to conform and get a weave, and that weave is sort of possessed and it makes her start killing people. Yeah, it's about like what we'll do to sort of get ahead as black women in the corporate world. And so yeah, I mean, I just think there's so many things happening, you know, and even like myself, getting ready to dive in. Like I go to Atlanta tomorrow as we get ready to start Boomerang series. The production will be on BET in February. So we're just like making stuff, and also getting ready to go. Like we start filming Queen and Slim, which is this Black Bonnie and Clyde movie I wrote. We go into production end of January, and Lena Waithe, who directed Thanksgiving and directed a bunch of your favorite Beyonce videos, and she and I are going to make our first movie together. And Daniel Kaluuya is going to be our guy, and hopefully we'll figure out who our queen will be next week. But yeah, it's just a very exciting time, and we just wrapped the 20s pilot, which we'll hopefully hear about getting a series order in the next couple weeks. But I saw a cut of it and it looks beautiful. So I just think it's a really interesting time right now where Black folks, Latino folks, women, we're all sort of coming together and realizing the power that we actually have.
Okay, that sounds good. I keep hearing all these projects. I'm like, now, see which one you need me in. I got to be in somebody.
Money, man.
Just
so many jobs.
Yeah.
Sticking ahead.
I was excited. You just mentioned it. You talked about Boomerang, and I mean, it's one of those movies. I don't know about for y'all.
I love it.
Whenever it comes on, I watch it like I've never seen it before, because there's so many just iconic scenes in the movie. Everything John Witherspoon said, and the whole Strange scenes, all of that. It's just a classic movie.
Yeah.
So what inspired you about? How did that movie resonate with you to say, man, we should do some kind of remake for Boomerang?
Definitely didn't say that. I'm not a big believer in remakes, actually, because I think you should kind of leave classics alone. But BET, in an effort to revamp or rebrand, rather, and by the way, BET and Paramount Pictures, which is the studio behind the movie, and that's what happens if you sell a thing, like it becomes the property of that studio. So, like for example, we sold Queen and Slim to Universal. So yes, I wrote it and I got paid to buy it, but it becomes their property. They can then do whatever they want with Queen and Slim. Same thing with Paramount. They're like, we own this property, which is Boomerang. BET and Paramount got together and said, let's do something with this property. And BET just said, all right, we'll do a series, and we'll do 10 episodes, and I'll be half hour. No writer, nobody attached, nobody from the original movie touched it, nothing. So that kind of got me around, and I heard about that, and my fear was somebody was gonna mess it up. So I just sort of rose my hand, and this is, I think, an example of me not knowing my own power. It's calling me my agency. And so I just said, well, look, I'm interested. And they were like, okay, let's do it. And I was like, well, hold on, let me take a beat and let's figure out what this will be. And it was just sort of by happenstance. I was getting an award from GLAAD for Thanksgiving episode. I didn't read the fine print of who would be presenting. But Halle Berry walked out and presented me with the award, and she and I had bumped into each other at a bunch of different parties and just sort of talked, and just found her to be really cool and chill, and I got an opportunity to tell her her winning the Oscar was directly related, I believe, to me, her being the first Black woman to win an Oscar for Best Lead Actress in a Motion Picture, which no one has followed her, by the way. She's still the only Black woman to hold that distinguished honor. Even Viola Davis doesn't have it. She won for Best Supporting Actress in a Motion Picture for Fences. But that being said, I told her, like, I saw that moment happen and it meant a lot to me. And to me, you can't tell me there's no tie between that moment and my own moment on the Emmy stage. That being said, when we went backstage, before we went and did press and took pictures, I was pulled to the side and I was like, look, first of all, did you have a good experience making Boomerang? Because sometimes people don't have good experience. So like, did you have a good experience? She's like, I had a great experience. So I was like, okay. I was like, have you heard about the fact that BET is trying to do the Boomerang TV series? She's like, no, I have not. I was like, of course you have, it's fine. I was like, well, look, they're doing it. I want to do it. If you're down, do you want to do it with me? And we just make sure this thing is right. And she's like, I'd love to work with you. Let's make it happen. So she and I jumped on the phone, talked a little bit, and I watched the movie again and again, you know, smoked a little bit, watched it again, and just tried to figure out like what was there, what was in it, and you know. And I think that once I did that, I really kind of got into it. And I'm very blessed, again, talking about this renaissance. I have my homie, Dime Davis, who is a phenomenal up-and-coming director. My other guy, Benjamin Corey Jones, who spent the last 3 seasons writing on Insecure. I was like, yo, you want to like show run? Yeah, and he also wrote on Underground before that. So it's like he did 2 seasons, I think, on Underground, 3 seasons on Insecure. If he were a white guy, he'd be a showrunner, you know what I mean? So I was like, I want him to be my showrunner. BET and Paramount were like, okay, he's like a year older than me, and he's showrunning, and we have another Black person who's a showrunner, and then my girl Dime, you know, she's never directed an episode of television before, but I know she can knock it out of the park. So I told Paramount, like, this is who I want to direct the pilot and maybe the last episode. So now she's directing the first 2 episodes as well as the finale, and she's now gonna be able to go direct TV for the rest of her life. So what's gonna happen is like, we have these really amazing artists who came together, and I was like, let's not try to recreate Boomerang, because you can't do that. I said, well, why don't we continue the story? I was like, what if after Marcus and Angela walk off into the sunset, they go have a daughter, and her name will be Simone, and as if they had a daughter in 1992 when the movie came out. She would be 26 right now. So I was like, what does that look like? Who is that kid, you know, who came up with Angela as your mom and Marcus Graham as your dad? And we also don't shy away from the fact that all the things that make these characters iconic might make them not so great parents. So we kind of have Simone like being a little like, yeah, you know, I'm Marcus Graham's daughter, but I'm my own person. And you know, being a Graham isn't everything it's cracked up to be. So it's sort of that thing, and dealing with trauma and parents and all that kind of stuff, and him being a provider, but not financially, but not emotionally, and what that might look like. And also too, I mean, we love Marcus Graham, but if you look at it now, he was a womanizer. So what does that look like when that's your father and you're a daughter? And also we cheated on our mom with Jacqueline. Speaking of Jacqueline, we gave her a son whose name is Bryson. He'll be played by Taquan Richardson. I know some of y'all know him, very handsome, smooth guy who grew up, you know, idolizing Marcus Graham and wanting to be him. And also, if you really look at the movie, like, Jacqueline's a bit of a psychopath. Like, she's kind of like a little off and like not normal and a little cold-blooded, but also dope, you know what I'm saying, at the same time. Like, she was just as much of a boss as Marcus. So, but again, it's like, can you imagine Jacqueline being your mother? And what does that look like? Him not really knowing who his father is. Wondering, could it have been Marcus Graham? Could it not be? You know, who knows? But basically, we kind of want their kids to really focus on their own dreams and try to step out of their parents' shadow while working at a Graham agency that's in Atlanta. But it really just sort of took on this life of its own, and now it's almost like just a bunch of Black, you know, young, professional, smart, dope people living in Atlanta and making a way for themselves. So that's really how it came about. So we really didn't try to say, let's do a strong J character or Lady Eloise. It's like, they've done that. It's sort of like, to me, Boomerang represented this amazing Black fairy tale of what life could be. And I think we kind of want to do something a little similar, but a little bit more grounded, a little bit more real.
Very
That's gonna be Boomerang.
That's okay. Great, sounds good. I know there are a number of people in the audience who are interested in moving into some kind of entertainment career. So if you talk a little bit about your professional journey and you think about what were some of the key moves or jobs that you had that prepared you to take advantage of the next opportunities that kept being presented to you and where you are now. So when you think about it, you know, what were some of those steps they can learn to say, these might be some things that I should do or be thinking about doing?
I mean, honestly, there's no rule book. There's no steps. There's no things I could tell you to do that is going to work for you, because if every snowflake is different, every journey is different. So it's like, I could tell you what I did, but it's not necessarily going to be your journey, you know? So to me, I think the first step is figuring out what would you do for free, and then figure out a way to get paid for that. And, you know, because all the stuff I'm doing, like, I would do it on my own. Like, I have to write, I have to do these things. I just am very blessed in that I get paid to do the thing that I like to do. But I really do think that's everybody's mission, is to figure out the gift that God gave you while you were in your mother's womb, and then figure out the best way to share it with the world. The tough thing is, I think sometimes people don't like the gift God gave them and want a sexier one. So they spend their lives trying to do the thing that God never intended them to do, because they think that's cute. And you know, sometimes it's interesting, like a person who maybe was meant to be a dentist has dreams of being a movie star. So then they'll go to their grave as a failed movie star rather than a successful dentist.
Wow. That's good. That's good. Y'all should tap on that. That was really good. It reminds me, there was an author, Elan Harris. He told me this in 1997. He wrote a book called Invisible Life. And the same quote, it was like, the key to life is find something that you love doing that you would do for free, and then find a way to get paid to do it. So it made me think about him.
Because also that's the thing that keeps your engine going. Because you know, it's easy to get deterred if you're not on the right path. You know, because a lot of people sort of like say, that path looks cool, so I'm going to go do that. And it's going to be difficult and hard, and it's like, and there's another path that you know you're supposed to be on, but you're like, well, I don't want that one. I want to do that thing. There's a lot of people. That's why you think there's like so many people in Hollywood, like, and only like 2% of them are actually successful. Because I just think, you know, it's like there are certain people that are supposed to be doing certain things. If everybody could be Will Smith, we'd all be Will Smith.
Right.
Only one of him, or a reason.
Okay, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this relates to this in terms of this idea of fame. At the Variety magazine event, you referenced Kanye, who talked about fame as being an incredible drug. And I think about Chuck D. Chuck D says that, you know, fame and celebrity is the drug of choice in the United States. So how are you handling this newfound fame? How are you handling that?
Well, I think the interesting thing is talk about path. Like, you know, I did not dream this up. You know, this was, God's plan. It wasn't mine. I never set out to be an actor. I always wanted to just write. But I also had to own, you know, my path and understand that, like, even though that was something I didn't plan, that I could embrace it as well, and also could be strategic in terms of saying, okay, if these people think I have a cool look or interesting vibe, okay, let me get there, and then also to use that, whatever light I get, to shed on other artists that I think are worthy of being in that light as well, and also it helps me, you know, maybe get some of the writing stuff going as well. But it was crazy because the Master of None thing happened very much by chance. I mean, well, nothing happens by chance. Everything God does is purposeful. But I did this 20s presentation that we put online, right? Because we were trying to get that going and trying to get people to understand it. A casting director, a very famous casting director, Allison Jones, saw it and said, I want to meet the person behind this. I go to her office, I sit with her, and she said, do you have an interest in acting? And I said, no, I do not. And she said, okay, well, would you mind if I bring you in for some stuff, just for shits and giggles? And I was like, sure. She brought me in, I booked a small part on the comeback. And then Aziz was casting a show, And he said, I don't want to do the usual casting thing. He was like, I want you to send me interesting people for me just to talk to. And if I like some from them, then I'll read with them. So this is by the grace of God. She said, you should meet Lena Waithe. I went to his house. I talked to him. And again, talking about being my complete self, I had just fallen in love with my now fiance. So I told him all that about that story and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, she was once straight. She is no longer. And so he got a kick out of that, and it wasn't like she asked me out, so I was like, okay, so because I vowed, I was like, no more, and then fucking cut too. So I told him that story in my own like animated way, and then I left his house, walked by his 2 Teslas, and got in my car, and it's funny, I got one disease, I finally got one. I got one for myself, but anyway, it's so funny because I was always a joke. Like I walk by his Teslas, kind of about like dusty shit. But we had a great conversation, and then I got a call that, okay, Aziz wants you to read with him. And then I go, okay, and I like run the lines with my, my lady, and she even gave me some notes, whatever. I was like, okay, cool. And then I went in and I read with him, and it was just, it was immediate. There was something that just sort of happened. People still to this day think he and I were friends before the show, and we're like, nope. Did not meet until that, and so that is something that I embraced. And then the show comes up because you never know what it's going to be. Netflix was still very early on in their scripted stuff, and I sort of took a risk. And I at that point I had just sold The Shy to Showtime, and so I said, "Would you guys give me 3 months before we go into production to go to New York to do this thing for Netflix?" And they were like, "Okay." So they did that, and it was a risk because it could have not worked. They could have been like, we're not going to do this thing. They waited for me. I came back. We shot the pilot. We didn't love the pilot we shot, so we got Rick Famuyiwa to come in, recast it, and shoot the pilot again. And in the midst of all that, again, I made the Hollywood Reporter does these like stars to watch or whatever. So I was in one of those magazines, and again, because I was not an aspiring or a working actress, so to speak, I wasn't going out for auditions or anything like that. But the casting director is another famed casting director, obviously who cast for a lot of Steven Spielberg's movies. They were having a hard time casting H in the film, and she was flipping through the Hollywood Reporter, saw my picture, and said, "Why haven't we seen her?" And I think someone said, because I think they called my reps, and they were like, "Well, she doesn't really like go out for stuff." And they said, "Get her in here as fast as you can. We want to see her." So I got this weird call from your agent, which is like, "Hey, so Steven Spielberg's casting director wants you to come in for a part of this movie." So I'm literally leaving the freaking appointment. Like I'm literally, I think I was like taking an allergy test because I was trying to see what I was allergic to. Like I was in that's what I was doing. I was in a waiting area for that. And I'm like, get this call, and I go, sure, I'll go in for shits and giggles. So I go in, I read, and they were like, okay, all right, and they go, and I get a call back. I want you to come back and read again. So I come back, I read again, and I got a call from my manager that like changed my life. He was like, "You're going to be in Steven Spielberg's next movie, Ready Player One." So then I had to go to London to shoot that for 4 months. And once again, Showtime was patient and cool, and they're like, "We'll wait a beat for you to get back." And they did. I shot that movie, came back, did the first season of The Shy, and then that's why the following year was just crazy because like The Shy came out, Ready Player One comes out, and then in the midst of that, then we had to do the Master of None season 1 had already come out, so I had to write the Thanksgiving episode in London because I was like, Aziz, that's where I'll be. If you want to come out here, you don't need an excuse to want to come to London. So he's like, sure, come on. So he hops on a plane. I have 3 days off from the movie, and those 3 days we spent in the hotel room when we wrote Thanksgiving.
Okay, so I want to.
So that's what I'm saying. Like these are things I did not plan. Like starred Steven Spielberg, but like I just like those are things that God had in his back pocket that I'm grateful he did.
So I want to talk about the Thanksgiving episode because you have this. It's just sort of like these iconic scenes of black folks and Aziz at this table.
Yeah.
And it's
He's the only man that appears in the episode.
Right, exactly. And it's just, I mean, if you haven't seen it, I mean, it's just worth it because I mean, to me, it's like realistic comedy. Like, I could see my family at a table. Even I was waiting just for the grandmother to curse much more than she did.
God.
I was just waiting for her just to let something else
Great
out.
actress, great New York actress.
Yeah, it was great. But so talk about the reaction that it got in the ultimate Emmy. Were you shocked about it? Was it just like, I'm just telling my story, but it resonated with a lot of people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, here's what I always say. We as artists have no control over how people receive our art. None. And we also have no business concerning ourselves with how people are going to receive our art. It's our job is to tell the truth as best we can and make something that we can be proud of. And if people like it, then that's great. And that really is always my approach. So honestly, I just thought it would be, the black episode of Master of None. I really didn't think of it. I didn't think of it as the black gay episode. I just thought, oh, this is cool that they want to do this. And that again happened I didn't walk into that thinking I would tell that story. I didn't think my coming out story was that interesting, to be honest with you. But I went to New York to sit with Alan and Aziz, the co-creators of the show, and we were talking about just ideas for the character. And all year long, I've been keeping notes about little stuff, relationship stuff, with me and my girlfriend, and then just things I was experiencing, because I wanted to come in with ideas. And then I have all these ideas, and I'm rattling them off, and I'm really proud of them. And Alan just apropos of nothing, goes, well, how did you come out? And I proceed to tell the story, and I do the impression of my grandmother, and my mom, and like my aunts, and my sister, and like all, and how it went from when I was a young person to an adult. And when I was done, they were like, well, that's an episode. And I was like, what? They were like, that's what y'all want? I was like, okay, cool. And then, they called, I got to my hotel, like, you gotta help us write it. And I said no at first, because I was like, dog, I'm about to go to London and do this fucking Spielberg movie. I gotta focus on that. I can't mess that up. And I got mad at Aziz. I was like, I feel like you're being lazy and you don't want to do the work, and that's why you want me to co-write it with you. And he was like, well, yeah, I'm lazy. He's like, but I want you to co-write it with me because I can't write the way, I can't do what you just did. And I was like, okay. But I really was like apprehensive about it. Because also too, I like to keep it separate. I don't like to write things that I'm in. I like everything I write it so somebody else can take it and interpret it. And then also I really do enjoy being an actor on set, not being there as a writer, not doing that stuff at all. But I can't help it. Even Steven was like, can you please pitch lines or stuff that feels right to you? And so I think I can't help but people just ask, like, we want to make sure it's right. So I did it. I really co-wrote it reluctantly, and I think I didn't expect for it to resonate the way it did. I think I thought, if anything, I thought I might get backlash, because I thought some people would say, yo, that looks like a piece of cake. You're coming out. Mine, they threw the Bible at me. I was like, well, luckily, my house, my mom wouldn't know where to find one to throw. They were lazy Christians, I like to say. Went to church on Easter and Mother's Day. It was more about, from me and my family, and mind you, I'd say that I'm really grateful that they couldn't quote the Bible and save their lives, because they might have been trying to quote it to me. But they weren't that kind of black family. They were just more like, well, what are the neighbors going to think? And that was something that I think a lot of people could relate to and could understand. And even there were also people too that would say, hey, my coming out experience was a little bit rougher than that, but I see hope in yours, and that was really inspirational. But no, I remember watching Melina's first cut on my computer, with my fiance, and we just kind of looked at it and went, wow, that was good. Okay. And we went about our day, and we were like, okay, hopefully, we can maintain the integrity of it and keep it pushing. And the thing about Netflix is that, you guys know how it is, people watch it and they tweet about it and that kind of stuff. And very quickly, well, Aziz did give me a heads up, because he was screening episodes for certain people just to kind of get a sense if it was working. And he was texting me a lot. He was like, yo, people fuck with this Thanksgiving episode. And people were like, and I was like, okay, cool. Didn't think anything of it. And then when it dropped, Twitter really kind of started to be a thing. And then next thing I knew, like, people were writing articles about it. And then it was just sort of like snowballing. And then Netflix kind of really saw the way it was going, and they were like, we really want to do an Emmy campaign. And I was like, oh, okay. And that just means just a ton of press and traveling and all that kind of stuff. But that also wasn't really on my vision board, like winning it. Like I used to watch the Emmys all the time, Golden Globes, Oscars, but it just wasn't, it never was my focus. I always just wanted to write good television. And for the Television Academy to say that I wrote the best episode of television that year in terms of comedy is God's own favor. I mean, there are writers who are phenomenal that, Yvette Lee Bowser doesn't have an Emmy. You know what I'm saying? Mark Rocket Hill don't have an Emmy. And for these are women who I look up to. And it definitely puts you in an interesting space where, you get to stand there. But I'm aware that I'm only was able to walk through that door because they spent so many decades beating on it. So if I stand tall at all, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of the women that came before me and these amazing comedic writers who, were just invisible for some reason. And but when I'm seen, they're seen because I'm influenced by their work, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the work that they'd already done. So. Oh, and I'll say something about the fame thing. I believe that is something that happens outside of you. It has nothing really to do with you. Does it affect the life a little bit? It's tough because as a writer, I do have to be a student of human behavior. I have to be able to watch people. Sometimes it's a little difficult because I can't necessarily do that because people sometimes there's a desire to look at me, and so I'm trying to look at them or look at people. But I don't buy into it. I'll be at a 7-Eleven at 2 in the morning buying Sour Patch Kids or something goofy or whatever because I don't want to be captive in my home. I don't want to act like, look, I believe we're all made up of the same stuff. But it does a weird thing to your brain when you see someone on a big screen and you're literally looking up at them, or if you watch Master None on your laptop in your bed, and I'm there, it feels like a very intimate relationship, and then you see me in person, and you're like, oh shit, that's interesting. So I don't think that, but I just for me, you have a very unique perspective because you go from having anonymity to not, and knowing that nothing about you has changed, other than the fact that maybe more, that's a very interesting space to be in, is that you're like, but I'm the same person I was, but now I'm valued more than those around me because I say lines in front of a camera and it's on TV or on a big screen. It's really silly when you boil it down, but it's a reality that we live in.
All right, to make sure y'all are thinking, I'm going to ask one more, and then I'm going to turn over and let y'all ask some questions, if that's okay. Is that okay? Okay, all right. There's a great quote from your Vanity Fair interview, and it goes like this. Mm-hmm. I am tired of white folks telling my stories. Mm-hmm. We got to tell our shit. Mm-hmm. No one tell a black story, particularly a queer story, the way I can, because I see the God in us. Mm-hmm. And so you've really embraced your place as what I would call an LGBTQ icon. So why has that been important to you, and as a part of, you speak openly and then you weave in your faith through all of that. Talk a little bit about why that's important for you to tell that story, particularly from that perspective and owning who you are.
Well, I think that it's important for those who are, here's what I'll say. I think it's important for the prey to tell their stories so the lion doesn't get all the glory. Because, we're sort of being hunted in a way, if you think about it. We have targets on our backs, our lives are not valued, and we're still seen as less than. And when Baldwin was writing, in Harlem, when Lorraine Hansberry was writing about raising the son, and Langston Hughes was writing about, us being the fabric of America as well, I feel like I want to step into their footsteps, and I want to carry on the torch, which is they wrote about us, they wrote about themselves. So that way, when I come along, you come along, we come along, we can read about ourselves. And my medium happens to be television and film, and it's an important one. I think a microphone is more dangerous than a grenade because, there's a power there, and it's one that, these platforms, people can be careless with them. People can look at it as just a way to get rich and make money. It's like, you look at comics, for example, it's like, look at what Dick Gregory was doing, and I don't know if we have a Dick Gregory anymore. We got Kevin Hart, that's no shade. But, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, I think it's about what you choose to do with your platform. Because I think they can easily try to erase us and act like we didn't build the country and act like we weren't here. And I think the reason why I want to write about us so much is that they don't forget how magical we are.
Okay.
All right?
All right, so I'm gonna, let's have some people come over here. Mandy, come get the mic for me. Mandy's gonna hold the mic for you. You got a question?
I know he gave us specific rules about the questions.
I gotta have questions.
Y'all got
they'll start off giving honor to God.
in here. I'm not mad, okay? And I'll try to be short with my answers so I can get to as many of you as possible.
Okay. All right, cool.
If y'all short with questions, I'll be short with answers. That's it.
Hey, my name is Jeremy Gray,
What's up?
and my question is, I want to make sure I'm at the right event. I think it was at the Emmys. You wore a tuxedo with the rainbow.
That's the Met Gala.
Met Gala.
Yeah.
I just want to know how that outfit came together. How did it feel to wear? And how was it received?
Well, thank you. Anna Wintour, who is the editor-in-chief of Vogue, she determines what designer you are partnered with. So she partnered me with Carolina Herrera, which was amazing. And they were already doing capes in their line, and there was a thing about the cape thing because of superhero in my speech, and so it kind of really worked. And they were showing me sketches of what I would be wearing. They knew I wanted to wear a tuxedo, and they booked with the cape. So they showed me capes with like different shades of the same color. Like we were thinking maybe red or gold and those kind of stuff. And I was like, why don't we do a rainbow cape? And they were like, sure, we'll go do a sketch and come back. So they did the sketch and they came back, and it looked really cool. And then I said, well, I want to do the new rainbow that includes black and brown as well. I said, can you guys go back and add those two colors to the cape and then send it back to me? And they did, and it looked dope. And I sent it to my fiance, and I was like, what do you think? She's like, I mean, it could be too much, but maybe if that's what your gut is. And then she texted me again. She's like, you know what? Nope, forget that. Yeah, do it. That's right. You should do that. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I was already there. I'm like, I'm doing it. See what happens. Because it really was like, it was a bold choice, and it could have went either way. But I feel like, an artist who doesn't offend should not call themselves an artist. So if I offended someone, I was like, cool. But it's the thing, you never know. Like it's a crazy, like New York, it's like Christmas in New York with the Met Gala. And that was my first time attending, and there was so many black people there. Like luckily, like Michael B was like, what's going, like Daniel Cooley. It was actually really, I felt very comfortable going there. Because it's also very intimidating. It's like Jesus Christ. It's like you're, like Rihanna and like Donatella Versace are there. It's like nuts. So, but I walked on the carpet, and I could hear, because there were like people like lined up waiting outside. They try to cover the tent so that way the press can be the first people to get the picture. But like I got out of that truck and that cape flew back, and you could hear people being like, what? And then I like walked on the carpet, had a really fun time. And then by the time I got inside, my phone had like blown up, and people were just like so excited. And I'm just really grateful, because I was like, if I'm gonna be there, I wanna bring my people with me as well. Like, my folks don't usually get to come to the Met Gala and all that kind of stuff. So wearing the cape was like putting my people and my community on my back. Thank you.
Hi, Lena.
Hey.
This summer I had the chance to intern at Showtime, and I
Oh,
actually
no.
got to work on a project for the Chi.
Nice.
And they emphasized how important the music was to you. Can you talk a little bit about how important the correlation between the music and the show is to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think well, I was just on the phone with the studio today. I feel like I'm always emphasizing every little thing about the show and trying to make it as great as I can make it. But the music is really important because I think music is plays such a huge part in my life growing up. You know, I used to hear a lot of old music because I lived in my grandmother's house. I was that cliche, you know, a kid lived in my grandma's house. But I think listening to old music kind of also gave me an old soul and gave me an appreciation for music. And I can still listen to modern day music, but you know, I'm just really grateful that I'm of that last generation, I think, that can listen to Tyga and then Luther in the same breath, you know. And I think that gives me a well-rounded feel. But also, too, I love Chicago singers. I love Donny Hathaway and Sam Cooke. And but then also I love, you know, I feel like Chance really represents where Chicagoans are. Like, it's just that gospel, like, beat and voices and that the muddled speech and the southernness in our voices. Like, to me, music is just so important, and I always want to make sure I get it right, and also to highlight up and coming Chicago artists as well. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Fitz, and I just want to know, you've come so far in your life. So what quote, if you have to pick a quote, what quote really drove you to keep going past all the adversity that you've been through in your life?
Quote, interesting. Well, a quote that my former boss, Lena Waithe, used to always say all the time, who did Love and Basketball, and she wrote and directed Love and Basketball, and I came to work with her on The Secret Life of Bees. But then she's just like my big sis. She presented me in Variety, women, power of women. She's like my big sister. She always says, you know, fall down 7 times, get up 8. You know, that's the one she says a ton, because that's what the business is. You're falling down a ton, and it's about who's the last person standing, you know, because some people decide to stay down, other folks are like, I'm gonna just keep getting back up. A big thing that she would also say to me too is always be great, be great, be great, be great. It's super simple, it's 2 words, but whenever you just are lost, just remember to be great. As I continue to work in the business and work with the greats, I think Melina is great, you know. I think obviously Steven Spielberg is great, but the thing is, it's like, I think their greatness is in their attention to detail. And that's even something I don't get. Like, I get into the nitty gritty with the scripts, because that's my thing, like writing every little word. I mean, I get really nitpicky. I'll say, take the then out of that sentence. Like, I was just on set in the 20s, and there's even like a little thing where she was like, there's a line that says something like in the last 3 months, and I said, lose in the last. Just say in 3 months. Just like, I don't know, something in the last hit my ear wrong. It's really weird. It's like music, the way I think of dialogue. And that's why when people always can say, oh, your stuff is really conversational. That's always a really great compliment, because I want that stuff to feel like you're watching just people existing. So I think of that as me trying to be great. Me taking a then out of a sentence that's not necessary is a form of greatness. Paying attention to the little tiny stuff. You know, it's like Michael Jordan becomes Michael Jordan by like being in the gym longer than everybody else. Because he's like, I want to be the best. And I always say, it's like, I don't want to pick up a basketball if I'm not going to be Jordan. Like, what's the point? It's too much sacrifice. If I'm not going to be amazing or phenomenal at something, I don't want to do it. All right?
How you doing?
Hey.
My name's Sharice Campbell. I'm a 40-year-old freshman.
Dope.
How would an aspiring filmmaker like myself get my script in your hands?
You can send it to, I have assistant, well, also I'll give the HillmanGradNetwork.com site. Go to HillmanGradNetwork.com, www.HillmanGradNetwork.com. And you can put in your resume and tell us who you are, what you got going on, and then what we'll usually do is we'll get your script we have a bunch of interns that read scripts, and that's their job, is to sit around and like read scripts and talk about what's working, what's not working about it, and if they would say it's ready to be passed along to me or not. And usually I always tell people a first impression is lasting. So you may think your script is ready for me to read it. Chances are it may not be ready for me to read it yet. So what we try to do is give you feedback and info to make that script great. But also sometimes a writer may not really have the skill set yet to take the notes and to make the script strong enough to get to me. So what we often do is recommend online classes. If you don't live in Los Angeles, or if someone does live in Los Angeles, we recommend classes they can go to, and if someone does not have the funds, I often would be willing to fund writing classes for that writer, so that way they have the skills that they need to go back into the script and work on it and make it stronger. So, and also too, there's also a site called the Blacklist site, which is like Blacklist with no vowels. It's BLCKLST is it .com?
Yeah.
Blacklist.com. Basically Blacklist with no vowels. You can go there and you can pay for a script evaluation, which I really trust, because the gentleman who started it used to work for Will Smith and a bunch of other dope people, and he decided to start the site where you don't have to have an agent or live in LA to get feedback on your material. And a lot of people have been putting their stuff up, and they rate the scripts from 0 to 10, and if you get an 8 or above, that usually means your script is in pretty good shape. If you get anything below that, that means you have some work to do. But usually when people say, oh, hey, I got a 6 or a 5 on my script, I go, that's okay. That just means you're at the beginning of your journey. You need to probably go learn the craft. That's really where I always go to. Anybody that, the craft is something they can't take away from you. It's like, I'm gonna always eat because I know how to write. But for people that want to be writers, it's not enough to want it, you gotta know how to do it. And oftentimes, unfortunately, we don't really have like classes and stuff like that. We just like, I got an idea, I got a story, I know characters, I know this and that. But a lot of times they don't know how to use Final Draft. Like, do you have Final Draft? Celtics, that's fine. Yeah, people use that. The industry one is Final Draft, but I have writers that use Celtics as well. There are some people that don't even know that. They're like, oh, I don't know the, you know what I'm saying? Some people don't even know where to start. So what we try to do is not shame them or judge them in any way. We just want to educate them and say, hey, I want to get you Final Draft. They say, oh, I can't afford it. Don't worry about it. We'll fund it, get that to that person. So that way they can then do that, take the online classes, we'll learn as much as possible. And then we even sometimes start writing groups outside of LA and things like that. So then you're meeting with folks once or twice a week, giving you the feedback on your first act, second act, third act, all that kind of stuff. We just try to give people structure and education. And because even if the script is not ready yet, it's okay. If the idea is good, you can spend 5 years on a script and finally get it to a place before it's ready for me to read it. And my thing is, you can't be worried about the time that it takes. It's like, just, you know, if you stay focused on it and work on it, eventually it'll get really good. But I'll tell you to go to HillmanGradNetwork.com, put your stuff up, and we'll circle back. Cool. I'm gonna keep it shorter too, but I'm trying to get to all y'all. Let's do it. We here. Shit. Okay.
My name is Kerry Jackson. I'm a film major. What are some things that a film major like myself can do to ensure that we can get an internship with one of your projects or anything you might recommend?
Go to HillmanGradNetwork.com, and you can become a Hillman Grad mentee. And my 2 assistants pretty much run it, and they, you know, work with people, talk to folks, give them tasks to kind of see who's good and who's responsible, who's responsive, things like that. We try to like just sort of test the waters with folks to see how serious they are, rather than just say, here's an internship. We usually just try to get you to be a mentee first, and then usually they'll interview you, they'll reach out, they'll talk to you, and the biggest thing we try to do is give people small tasks to do, again, to see if they got that greatness in them. But if we tell somebody, say, hey, would you mind running to the store and grabbing pens and paper? If they go to the store and come back with just paper, that's a knock. Because it's like, if you can't go do that simple task, I don't know if I want to trust you on set. You know what I'm saying? All right. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Antoinette Alasia. I'm an entertainment major, and I was wondering, what's the hardest part about being both a writer and an actress?
Yeah, it's not difficult, because I do them separately, usually. Hardest, I mean, I wouldn't even say, with the acting, I mean, I find it to be fun more than anything. I mean, yeah, you got to learn your lines, but I'm pretty good at, I can learn my lines pretty quickly. The hardest part is the early call times, that I will say. That is hard. Yeah, it's not fun. And Steven Spielberg loves early call time. Like, call time's like sometimes usually 5 a.m. Yeah, that means you're like you're in the makeup trailer at 5. So I'm like up at like 4:30, like at the latest, to get in. And luckily you have a driver, somebody picks you up and takes you to your trailer. And then a PA, a lovely PA comes out and says, okay, they're ready for you in hair and makeup. You gotta go to hair and makeup. Because for Ready Player One, half of the film is live action, the other half is motion capture. So motion capture means they like literally capturing your emotions. So they have to put all these like dots on my face, and there's a helmet with a camera attached to it, like a bodysuit, and I gotta go through those. So yeah, and then also in the live action part, I have tattoos, because I'm a cliche lesbian that way. And so they have to like cover all my tattoos up, so that I'll be there like 4:30, you can cover that up, and then also too, the other hard part is, the hair and makeup people, if I gotta be there at 5, they gotta be there at 3. So they've been there a few hours, so I can't come in there like with an attitude. They're like, what'd you do last night? What's going on? What's happening? And I'm like, yeah, I watched Twister last night. Yeah, what'd you do? So you gotta be social and like all that kind of stuff, so that can be a little tough. But come on, it's a good life, so you can't really complain. And then writing, the toughest thing about writing is just sitting down and actually doing it, because I have ideas all day, and I'm like, I know I gotta do stuff, like, I gotta do a pass on this other script. I just told my assistant, like, bug me about working on that this week, and I still gotta write the finale for Boomerang. But I know I have it, I know what's gonna happen, I just need to sit down and, like, execute. So those are the two, somewhat hard, and I even feel bad complaining about either, because they're both fun. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Williams. I'm a theater performance major.
Dope.
My question was, you spoke a lot about writing, so when did you know that writing was your calling?
I think that's a good question. I think I knew very early that I was good at it, and I think that's where teachers really come in, because my 5th grade teacher, Ms. Tarbonis, I'll never forget it, Southside Chicago, said to me in 5th grade, I look forward to reading your papers because you write the way you speak. And for some reason that stuck with me, and I just kind of understood in that moment, like, oh, okay, I'm good at this thing. And also I love watching television, obviously, all the time. Would always be watching something on television. I'd be watching All in the Family, or Designer Women, Different World, Cosby Show, Empty Net, I don't know. I was always watching something. And I just realized that I love television and I love writing. I also really love reading a lot. And so it just kind of all came together. And as I got in high school, I really loved writing, but I wasn't really writing scripts until college. But in college, I got to write scripts and really sort of take it seriously. And then you just have to write bad scripts for a good, 10 years before I got a good one. It takes time. People think you can sit, it's interesting with writing, because it's the only profession anyone can just say that they are. I can't just look at you and say, I'm a doctor. Let me give you open heart surgery. You're gonna be like, I don't trust that. But anyone can come and say they can do what I do. But it's interesting because very few people understand the amount of time and energy and effort and years it takes to actually be a writer. But it's one of those things, everybody can say, I'm a writer. It's like, okay. But very few people are. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Lena, how you doing?
Hey.
My name's Shakar Lister. I'm a junior film major here.
Cool.
Question, I wanted to know, what are some of the constant hurdles that you face when producing a project?
I don't know if I have constant hurdles. It's just more about, in terms of producing, which I love doing. I really like producing because I really like getting the right writer, getting a cool director, and getting a great cast, and like pulling it all together. But the biggest thing is like juggling personalities. That's really what producing is. It's like if you have an actor who's like, I don't like the hair and makeup people, then you have to talk to the person who's like, the line producer who's hired the hair and makeup people and say, hey, what's going on with the hair and makeup people? Like, this one actor doesn't like them, and do the other actors like them? Because that's the first line of defense. That's the first people the actors see when they get up in the morning. So if they don't like them, that's gonna be bad for the rest of the shoot. And the line producer goes, well, yeah, they're not great, but they're cheap. And then I may go, well, let me go find some more money so you can get good hair and makeup people so our actors are in good spirits when they walk onto set. And that person may go, okay. And that person may say, well, you gotta go find that money. Okay, let me go find the money. I gotta go call maybe the financier and say, hey, I need more money because our lead actress doesn't like the hair and makeup people, and that's a problem. And they're like, how much money do you need? I don't know, give me a couple $100,000. Okay, great, and we'll hire these people. You know what I'm saying? So that's what producing is. That's really what it is. It's like dealing with stuff like that. Or if the director isn't making their days, go to the director and say, hey, why are you not making your days? Like, we can't go over. And the director may go, it's too many pages, like a day, or I don't have enough time. Like, okay, let me get you more time. I'm gonna go talk to the writer and see if we can cut some of these scenes if they're necessary. If the director says, I don't wanna cut anything, I go, okay. And I have to determine if that writer is correct, or I may wanna go back and reread the script and say, hey, I think you have the same beat twice here, so I think you actually can lose this scene and help your director make their days, and they go, okay, fair enough. Or I could also go to the financier and say, I'd like a little bit more money so we can have a little bit more time, so our director can take more time during the day. Like, that's really what you're doing. So people, you say what? You know, perfect. Because I think the thing is like, people don't really know what producing even means. I didn't really know it. I kind of got baptized with fire when I made Dear White People. That's the first thing I ever produced. Like, I was just like, I believe in the script, I believe in justice, let's go do this thing. And that was tough, man. That was hard. We had like no money, we had no time. We were like kids. It was our first movie we'd ever done. And so for us to get into Sundance was a huge accomplishment, because we literally were like, what are we doing? But I believed in Justin's talent. That's the thing, is that you have to also have a good palate for talent. Because if you out here, don't break your back for something that's not gonna stick to somebody's ribs. But you gotta also know what's good and what's not. Sometimes for us, we've been fed minstrelsy for so long, we don't know what's good or not. We thinking, yeah, that's good, and it's like, is it though? Like, is it good? Can you remember it the next day? Does it haunt you when you're asleep? If not, then it ain't, you know what I'm saying? It's not the shit. So, but that's the thing I try to teach the people coming up. It's like, know what phenomenal is so you can spot it. Because when you hang around phenomenal people, you don't have a choice but to rise to the occasion.
That's right.
My name is Jillian Smith. I'm one day gonna make my own entertainment company that's gonna outdo Disney.
Okay.
As a fellow wannabe writer, when you're writing characters and the scenes and the tone of it, how do you put yourself into each character's shoes? How do you know how they're gonna react to this certain situation?
It's a really good question. One, I try to do a lot of character work, period, before I start outlining. Anyway, you know, and the cool thing to do that Gina Prince Bythewood's amazing husband, Reggie Bythewood, taught me was to journal as the character. And just write like what you had for breakfast, what you thought about, what you dreamed about last night, like all that kind of stuff as the character. And things will just sort of come up for you or come out for you that are really cool. But other times too, I would loosely base characters on people I know. So sometimes I can use a personality trait. That's always easiest, you know, rather than you having to come up with like, okay, so who's this character gonna be? But also too, I think any person, you just can't help but write about the people around you or your experiences. But I would say, yeah, man, be around interesting people. Be around muses. Be around people that make you laugh, that kind of make you think, and then base characters on them, you know? And then that way you can say, oh, I know how my friend Jacques would react in this, you know, scenario. So, okay, I'm gonna put him in a scenario that he ordinarily wouldn't be in, you know, and that'll be funny, or that'll be silly, or it'll be dramatic. But yeah, if you have interesting characters and really cool conflict, you kind of can't go wrong. And I wish you the best on your company. I hope to make a movie or a TV show with it at some point. Yeah.
Hey, Lena. My name is Mariah. I'm a psychology major, but I too am a writer. I commend you on embracing your intersectionality as a queer Black woman. But my question is, do you ever still feel that you're othered in the industry despite your success? And if so, like, how do you cope with that?
I honestly, being othered is, I think, a privilege in the industry now. But also you gotta know your position, because it's also being commodified. You know, like, I'm aware of my role in the machine. You know, I helped to make Ready Player One cool. You know what I'm saying? I helped to make Master of None cool. So, and Aziz knows that, you know, Aziz is like, yeah, come be in, you know, he's aware that my Blackness and my queerness and my womanness bring a different layer to his show. So if I wasn't Black, if I wasn't gay, if I didn't come out, then I wouldn't be able to write the Thanksgiving episode. I could, but it wouldn't be what it is. So me being gay and Black got me an Emmy, in a way, you know? Not just that, but me being able to write about it and, you know, come out of it through the other side is the reason why I was celebrated. And also too, like, it's like, white people love Black people. They love us, whether they like it to admit it or not. You know what I'm saying? They do. Like, I mean, it's like one of my favorite scenes, If I Can Do the Right Thing, when like, you know, when Mookie's talking to old boy at Sal's, and he's like, who's your favorite basketball player? Who's your favorite rock star? You know, all these people, who's your favorite singer? All these people you love, you know, are so-called niggas. And then, of course, it's a great dialogue. Like, well, they're not niggas. It's like so great because it's like it's the realest shit ever. So in essence, like, it's about, if you're gonna be used, figure out how you want to be used. Because we're all being used in the business, make no mistake. But for me, it's about, okay, y'all not gonna use me up though. And I'm gonna get paid off of it. And I'm going to open up the doors so that way a lot of us can get in there and help to get some of us in positions of power, so that way, you know, the playing field can level out a little bit more. Because it's not right now. It really ain't. People be thinking, oh, we got this and we got that. It's like we had one Get Out, we had one Moonlight, we had one Cosby Show, and now that's gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when you look at the sea of entertainment, we still make up a small percentage of what's out there. You know, we have one Black Panther. Like, I mean, the fact that we all are like praise dance, you know what I'm saying? They get those like 7 times a year. You know, we get it once a year and like come out in our African garb and I'm like, hey, which is great. But I think it's like, imagine if we had that, you know, more often. And luckily we will. Why? Because it made money. You know, you're gonna get more Crazy Rich Asians because they made money. So it's tough. We still, you know, still making white people money. Because Black folks don't own Marvel. So, anyway.
Hi, Lena. I'm Savon McLean. And what is a piece of daily advice that you would give to an aspiring screenwriter to help them improve?
To study the craft, to read scripts, to read really great scripts. The script I like reading is Thelma and Louise. I really like that script. The character work is really good in there. I watch old movies, like I watch All About Eve, which also I think is a perfect script, you know. Yeah, I just try to like really watch and listen to movies and read as many books as you can. You should read this book called The Anatomy of Story. The Anatomy of Story. And also check out Save the Cat Goes to the Movies. Not just Save the Cat, but Save the Cat Goes to the Movies, because he uses examples of films about, you know, Breaking Act 2 and Dark Knight of the Soul and stuff like that. Sometimes it can be difficult to determine, like, well, which one is that? But taking online classes, beginning classes here, just like, again, when you master the craft, there's nothing you can't do. But I think a lot of people like skip that step and they kind of run into brick walls. So, but master the craft, because that's the thing. I've realized that that's my piece of leverage, is that they're now calling me to say, hey, can you work on this thing? Because there's so few people that really know the craft really well. But I don't want to be the only one. That to me is like, some people look at that, oh great, this isn't just wonderful. But to me it's like, oh, I want more of us to know the craft. And they only got 3 Black folks they can call. Yeah? Thank you, brother. I like your name too. Yes.
My name is Jeremiah Everfield.
That's a good name too.
Thank you.
You sound like a slave that's running away a bunch of times. He will not stop running away. Jeremiah! Get your ass back in the plantation. Make this stool. Put your lemonade.
About to make me forget my question.
I like your hat too. You're like, I'm smart. And a NASA hat. And a members only jacket. Come on. Kill me. Give me Tevin Campbell, vintage. Vintage Tevin Campbell. He's like, can we talk? About to sing Ashley Banks happy birthday. You got it.
As a filmmaker.
You got it.
At my age as a filmmaker, what should I be doing right now?
As a filmmaker, you should be studying, you should be watching old movies. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I think sometimes people only watch modern stuff. I think the old stuff is really where you can learn from, because the truth is, like, they didn't have as much technology and still can hold your attention, you know? And I think it's important to know who the greats were, but also too, when you look back at old film, you'll see that we're missing as well, you know, or we're always in servitude. And so it's good to know where we started. You know, you should go watch Gone with the Wind, right? Which is, you know, one of Hollywood's most successful films and one of its most revered. And then you should go and watch something like Medicine for Melancholy. You can find it, which is Barry Jenkins' debut film. I think it's his directorial debut. And then go watch Moonlight, which he did 8 years later, and see the growth from there. I just think that it's good to go into the bins and go into the libraries of cinema, because you learn so much about who we are as a society, who we are as a people. It's like, I fuck more with vintage Spike Lee than current, but I think if you go look at Do the Right Thing, it tells you something about who we were at the time. It's a time capsule. That's what a movie should feel like. You look at Menace to Society. That is a time capsule. It tells you something about not just who we were, but also who we still are. And it's funny because, like, movies that really had an impact on me were, you know, Boys in the Hood. You can see that influence in The Shine if you watch it. Like, you can see that how I'm influenced by the children in that movie. They're only there at the top, obviously, but then how I write children now. But there's a part of me that loved, say, Menace to Society a little bit more than Boys in the Hood, because Menace to Society was brave enough to kill their protagonist. You know what I'm saying? They weren't afraid to make the protagonist really flawed. His actions caught up with him by the end of the movie. But if you look at Trey, he gets out of the car. He has a father. He's not afraid to cry and be vulnerable. That's how John Singleton wanted to portray that world. And it's a fair portrayal. I think the Hughes brothers, though, kind of lit it on fire and said, no, Kane's gonna kill the dude that got his gun. You know, he's gonna get some girl pregnant and not take responsibility for it. He's gonna beat the shit out of her cousin in front of his grandparents' house. You still gonna root for him. You still gonna relate to him. You relate to O-Dog. You care about O-Dog. He kills a crackhead in cold blood. But you still, you care about him when he's crying as he's looking at all these fallen soldiers around him at the end. And the fact that he's the one that lives. So, if you want to look at film, it's like, you know, really pay attention to the director's intent. The difference, you know, that there is in every filmmaker. But both movies are valid, but they're telling similar story in a very different way. And I think that's what you should be looking for. They're also capturing a piece of us. Because O-Dog exists. Hughes brothers don't shy away from that. But Trey does as well. You know? Yeah, and also don't be afraid to look at the director's journey. You know, you go from, because what was the genre was Boys in the Hood, Higher Learning was next, or Poetic Justice. But if you look at those, it's sort of like, what story is he telling again and again? What is he trying to find? What truth is he searching for? Is he finding it? You know, you look at Ryan Coogler, from Fruitvale Station to Creed to Black Panther. There's a through line there. He's always exploring relationships between fathers and sons. Black fathers and sons is one of his most significant relationships in his life. So that's the truth he's searching for. That's what he's always looking for. Somebody can look at my work and see similarities, you know, and see a through line. But if you look at directors and try to understand, oh, that's their story, that's their truth, that's what their thing is, you'll make them look at yourself and figure out what yours is. All right? Thanks, man. Be good sport. You did it. I'm proud of you, brother. Last but not least.
My name is Martez Warren. I'm a film major as well. So you spoke about changing the narrative regarding color and women and also telling our own story. How important is it to you to continue to tell a story, tell stories about African Americans outside of the Hollywood narrative? For example, the angry black woman, the convicted black man, or the slavery and things like that. How important is it to you to kind of humanize us as people through your camera lens?
I think it's really significant. You know, I think for me, I just don't want my hands to be tied in any way. I think I want to be able to tell, you know, I think Black people aren't equal in cinema until we can be the hero as well as the villain. I think we got to stop being afraid of being the villain sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, Killmonger is just as significant as our Black Panther. You know what I mean? It's like, and I think that, you know, but I hear what you're saying in terms of like narrative or angry black woman or this and that, but I think I was just at a weekend where I spent time with Keegan, Michael Keegan Peele, from Ken Peele, not Jordan Peele, but the homie, the other black guy. He was talking about that what they did on Key and Peele was they would start with the stereotype and then make it more and more and more and more specific to the point where you're laughing because you're like, oh, I didn't expect that. So I think that's what I try to do. I try to deal with the shy, you know, like, or we turn a stereotype on its head, or we try to like, but not just for shits and giggles, but because we know how we want to paint people with a very tiny paintbrush. And I think that I want to be able to tell any narrative I want. You know, like it's like, what if I want to tell a story about a crackhead or this or that? What the stereotypes are they have of us? But I want to be able to tell it in a very human way, you know, and say like, this is real. This is a real thing. Like, let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Because there's no phrase I hate more than positive black images. I think it's dangerous to only look at the good parts of yourself. Like, we can't do that. I mean, just talking about Menace to Society, I mean, those lives are just as valid in this whole thing of, oh, can we show affluent black folk? Sure. You know, or can we take this out or this out? But I just think as long as the story is honest and coming from a real place, I'm here for it. And I want to just tell all kinds of stories, you know, queer stories, you know, queer black stories, straight black stories. You know, Queen of Stone was about heterosexual love, you know, because that was the framework in which it was designed. But because there might be an element that people say, oh, well, she's a queer black woman, so she don't tell queer stories. It's like, no, that's tying my hands. You know, I don't want my hands to be tied in any way, shape, or form. Because as an artist, I need to be free. And I need folks to allow me to make missteps or be free or do things that I just want to try out.
Real quick.
Yeah.
When is Shy 2 season 2 coming?
All right. We don't have an exact premiere date, but we wrap filming the second week in November. But I've already seen some cuts. I've seen the first like 4 episodes, and it's blacker than season 1, if that's possible. it's you know, we get into some stuff, you know, little like it's just I think it's stronger than season 1, and I know y'all really like season 1, but we're trying to go even harder, and I'm just really excited for y'all to see it. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. We coming. We got Shy coming. Boomerang is coming in February. Queen and Slam is gonna be in theaters on Thanksgiving weekend of next year. I hope y'all go see it. Yeah, some good stuff. And Bad Hair, I think, will be out next year or something. Yeah.
All right. Let's give it up for Lena Waithe.
Thank y'all. Thank you guys.